Oh, it's so satisfying every single time. Just
Hmm.
to see that
It's
big
been a
old
very
spike.
long time. When was the last time we? It's been like a whole season
Um,
has passed, hasn't it?
it's
A whole fall,
been, yes,
maybe.
because life happened, and then I got the plague.
Right.
Uh, I can
And
tell
then I went
by the
on a
details.
trip
And I went on a
to a
trip.
cottage. Yeah.
I went to a different country.
And I went to a different province.
Wow. Yeah. Honestly, yeah. It was. We skipped the whole month of October because my
Yeah.
last timestamp is like
It's been more than that,
September.
hasn't it? You'll be happy to know in that time that we were gone, I edited one podcast, so I'm only
Hey,
about 13 behind now.
never give up.
It'll happen
That's all that
eventually.
matters.
It's only a matter of time.
Um, it's only a matter of time. There's only so much Minecraft that you can play.
Well, the
Um,
trick is to do it while you're playing Minecraft. That's a real trick.
this is true. But like,
In
I'm
my
the kind of
experience.
person where I get into waves of like obsession. Right? So it's
Productivity.
like I really want to play Sims, and then I'll play the shit out of it for like 2 weeks, and then I'll get
Oh
super
yeah,
tired of it and not touch it for like 6 months.
yeah. I just started getting into Minecraft, so you'll be happy to hear next week that I'll have edited a bunch of them.
Hey, I
I'm
mean,
I'm building something
honestly,
called a perimeter, and it's just a big hole in the ground that I have to blow up. So it's good for listening to
it is fun.
podcasts.
It is a fun game. It's a simple game.
Yeah.
Well, we're at we're starting to get into the, I don't want to say there's a different word than good presidents, but like I
The
guess
cool
it feels like,
ones.
yeah, we're getting into the cool ones. We're getting into the ones that were like monumental and they kind of like changed the game.
Hmm.
And I have a lot of stuff. I
Great.
think this is the most I've written. I'm
Nice.
at
This
like
looks like he's got
five
a lot.
pages. He has a lot, and honestly, I didn't get everything because he did a lot.
Hmm.
He was like a man of business. He was really cool, but I don't know if
Wasn't
that's
he the
like,
governor before?
he was the governor of New York, and I think he was like, they wanted him to be mayor at one point, and he turned it down. I think
Hmm.
he was the commissioner of the police. He was in a lot of like political members. He was a member of parliament, I guess, or like in like the city legislation in New York, and he helped pass a bunch of
Hmm.
laws. And he got really into politics.
Okay.
Of course, he was the
He's
vice
also
president.
in the Newsies. Yes.
He is also in the Newsies. He has a lot of media representation that I,
Hmm.
being a non-American, didn't really put two and two together until I started reading about him, and I was like, oh, he's just everywhere.
Hmm.
um,
He's
but
no
yeah, so he was vice
vampire
president of
hunter, of
William.
course.
No, but I
What?
have a movie pitch for you at the end of
Oh, yeah,
this.
do you? Okay.
I want to make a Teddy Roosevelt one.
Right. And then
I think
who
it'd be
would
really
play
good.
it?
But we'll get to that.
Alec
Well, I don't know.
Baldwin
Well,
again.
we can decide that of who would play
Okay.
it. But
Yeah.
I got the story at least.
Hmm.
We're gonna make millions. It's gonna be great. Yes, he was the vice president of William McKinley. We found that out before. He assumed the role right after. So he was
Yeah.
president from 1901 to 1909. So he finished off McKinley's presidency and then did his own. Um,
So could he have run again, or did he spoil his
I
one presidency on the 1 year?
no, I think he won. Like he ran to be president after he finished off vice presidency, and he won because he had already
Hmm.
done,
So,
I
sorry,
guess, enough.
can you remind me? Did McKinley die at the beginning of, or the end of his presidency?
I don't remember. I think it was midway through.
Hmm.
Let's look.
It was very long ago. So he was in office for 4 years. So it must have been near the end. 1901.
I believe so.
Oh yeah, I guess they let him have
Scrolling,
three then,
scrolling,
because
scrolling.
he only got like a couple months as one term.
Uh, Correct.
Because he was over.
So
he was president for
97,
over 8
8
years.
to 9. He was.
Cool.
Yes.
What a lucky duck.
Yep.
I guess
Yeah.
technically he was the longest serving president ever.
Yeah, with that little extra bonus, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, you can only... I don't know when they bring in the rule that you can only serve 2 terms. I don't... Because they used to just be like, you could just keep reapplying over and over and over again. You could just be the president forever. And then they went, wait, let's not do that.
Sorry, I keep cutting you off. I'll listen better.
You're good. There's certain things I'm remembering, but I don't want to say them because I've written it down, and then I'm going to repeat myself and get mad at myself.
No, you don't want to
he
spoil
was
it?
an... No, I don't want to spoil it. I just want to say it, and then I get to that line on my list, and then I get to it, and then repeat myself, basically.
Oh.
Not really a spoiler. It's just things I'm remembering as I talked in this format.
Yeah, you're keeping it.
And I get
not
warming up back to speaking by myself, but to you through the internet. He was a progressive president. He was an antitrust president, which I'm not very well versed in the world of politics. I didn't know what that meant. And I was like, wow, he was antitrust, and I read it as, like, you know, like truth and lies. Like, he didn't like to trust people. But no. Trust as in money, which basically he's like, he pushed a lot of legislation to make sure that businesses didn't, like, monopolize a lot of stuff. And there's a lot of really... There's a lot of fun caricatures of, like, the House of Commons with, like, these tiny little businesses, and there's, like, skinny, like little cartoon men, and there's, like, big fat ones who are, like, the big companies.
I got a question for you. Back then, antitrust probably meant something different than it does now, because now it's, like, tech companies. That's the only people you hear the government use the word antitrust for. What back then, it was, like, infrastructure or, like, railroads, probably?
Probably like gold, railroads, the banks, because there's that whole panic that they had just before this. Probably more of your like just construction businesses, like like the Ford company, or
I guess
if they had someone manufacturing car, like stuff like that.
Yeah, back in those days, railroads were technology, so I guess same. Cool.
And, sorry, I just ate my last piece of sushi. I'm so sorry, audience.
Oh, I'm hungry now.
It was very delicious. Sorry, my bad. You just said, infrastructure, technology. Yeah, so it's like, we think of technology today as like, you know, the nanochips and like the AIs.
A titanium phone. Oh, right.
Yeah. Where then it's like, it's still technology, it's just a little bit not as advanced as what we know today. He had a cowboy persona, which I'll get into that a little later. I
bet he rode a lot of horses.
He rode a lot of horses, and he got into a lot of cattle. But again, I'm gonna get into it because it's written down lower. He was married twice. His first wife. Weirdly, his first wife and his mother died in the same night, which made him, which I think kind of what spurred his cowboy persona, because, like, after that happened, he
had no women in his life.
He had no land, he had no maidens. That's a lie, he had land. And he had a ranch in Dakota.
He was just riding solo.
Yeah, well, he had a daughter, so, like, his first wife, I think I mentioned her name later. I think her name was Martha. She died. So after she had their daughter Alice, she died, I think, a couple days later due to, like, a kidney infection that, like, was hidden by the pregnancy. So he's really sad. He, like, went out to his ranch in the Dakotas and just, like, ranched for a couple years and, like, just lived off the land.
How old was he then?
I couldn't tell you. I have no idea. I did not write down dates or anything. I would assume he was probably in his, like, early 20s at the time, or mid-20s. Because, like, him and Martha were only married for, like, a year, and they were pretty young. Yeah. He served as the Assistant Secretary to the Navy under President McKinley, and he was a part of the naval war against Spain. And he also led and formed the Rough Riders, which was a unit that fought.
The football team?
I mean, that's probably what the football team's named after. If that is a football team. I've just exposed my sports knowledge.
Something.
I know there's the Raiders.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah, it is Canadian. It's Canadian football, Saskatchewan.
Oh, interesting. Maybe they really love Theodore Roosevelt.
Oh, no. American.
Yeah, they fought in the Spanish, the Spanish army in Cuba, and they got a lot of publicity for it.
That wasn't. What was going on in Cuba?
It was there was a Spanish war that happened in Cuba, so I think they were fighting over land.
Oh, they're still. I guess
yeah. I didn't get.
Was Cuba at war with Spain?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, possibly. Hey. Yeah, it was a Spanish American. I don't know. I don't know. I know he fought in it. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot. He has so much that I didn't look into like anything that had like a specific detail. I didn't like go too deep. I went more on like his personal life and like who he was and like what he kind of did.
Was he fighting on the Cuban side?
No. He was fighting on the American side.
Probably.
So it was the Spanish-American War of.
But what side were they on?
Cuba? Probably the Spanish.
Oh, so he was fighting with Spain. Then.
No. So Teddy Roosevelt was fighting for America. The Cubans are probably fighting with the Spanish, and the Americans probably want control over Cuba. They didn't want the Spanish to have.
So
control.
they were like they were like the third party trying to get some land.
That or just didn't want the Spanish to have control because it was too close to America for their liking.
Because the Monroe Doctrine, maybe.
I don't know what that means.
You don't remember James Monroe's doctrine that you can't come invade this side of the world anymore, or you're at war with the states?
Oh, I did not know that. Now I do.
You got to re-listen to that episode.
But here's the thing.
To episode James.
I've probably said this before. I have the memory of a goldfish. When like new things come out, I have to delete other files. It's just a thing that happens.
That's why we record everything.
Exactly, so I don't have to re-remember it. I didn't go too much into depth as to why they were in a war. There was a lot of like, oh, cool, he was in a war. Mark that down. He was the governor. Cool, he was the governor. Like, there's a lot. There's a lot to go through for him. He did a lot of things. But what was interesting that I found about the Rough Riders is because of his kind of like, I guess, charisma and like as I guess who he was, and he was very prominent naval officer or like new strategy. They attracted a lot of Ivy League athletes because he went to Harvard, Glee Club singers, Texas Rangers, as well as Native Americans. So it was this like Suicide Squad of just like American men. And so it kind of, or I guess I also imagined it as like, you know, like the first Captain America movie where they go to war and they're all those like fun like bowler hats with cigars and they're all like caricatures in a way. I think that that like unit that he like formed, I think they were the only ones that really saw battle and like or won something, so that like everyone was just like, oh my god, it's the Rough Riders, they're crazy cool. And it was the Battle of San Juan Hill, I guess, and their fleet sailed to Cuba and like were able to like win. So yeah, that was pretty interesting. So he's just this like badass cowboy who just wants to fight. And then afterwards, I don't know, I'm not sure, probably a while afterwards, but there was a book that recounted the events of the War of 1812, specifically around, I guess, I don't know why it would have had Navy records, but who knows. Anyways, the original documentation they wrote that he found was in the U.S. Navy records, and he scrutinized it for being not very well written and like described, and I guess there's a word for like when you like in a scientific way where you're kind of like recording correct details and like citing certain theories or like for the war. So he rewrote it, and it's like he had drawings of the different ships and maneuvers that they would make. He had charts depicting the differences in the iron weights of the cannons, and like the rival forces. He had analysis of like the differences in the similarities between Britain and America. So he was just like a nerd for like naval war, and it's been praised and is still used as a study of war in that like book that he wrote, which is kind of bonkers to think about.
Do you know the name of it?
It's just called The Naval War of 1812.
Not a very good name.
Yeah. But apparently he was a really good writer. He probably did more stuff. That was his most, like, prolific. And I think just because he was a big nerd for war and boats. Yeah. He was a sickly child when he was young. He had asthma. But apparently he just, like, overcame those problems by just, like, living an extraneous lifestyle. When he was a kid...
Stiff upper lip.
I guess. Like, he just, like, powered through it. And I guess he had a speech that he called The Strenuous Life, where he, like, recounted his personal experience and argued that a strenuous effort and overcoming a hardship were the ideals of being an American. And, like, the betterment of, like, you know, like, going through the mud, sweat, and blood of America and coming out the other side, like, the better person. Which, like, I guess, inspired a lot of Americans to, like, follow behind him. Also, this is an odd thing. He had a lifelong interest in zoology. And it all started when he saw a dead seal at the local market. And apparently he took the head of the seal, and him and his cousins made, like, a makeshift, like, Roosevelt Museum of Natural History. And he, like, taught himself how to do taxidermy and, like, stuffed the seal head, and then would go and hunt and catch other animals to, like, add to their own museum. But it just sounds like...
That's some Jeffrey Dahmer
right?
level.
Like, it feels very sliding doors moment of, like, you could have been a psychopath, serial killer...
Yeah.
But instead you became president. Which is just, like, baffling to me.
Or maybe he was both.
Maybe he was both. Hey. They're usually they're pretty charismatic, so...
Sure.
Yeah. He was homeschooled, but then, like, in, like, I guess back... I don't know what you call, like, high school, public school. I'm not sure what the education was like back then. But he eventually went to Harvard. And he dropped out because he ended up getting a job within the law and politics of New York, and then never actually received a degree. I'm sure since then Harvard's probably given him like an honorary degree of some sort, because I know they do that for some people. He was...
I asked my AI if he was a serial killer, and it says, let's analyze this claim in the context of Teddy Roosevelt. During his presidency and throughout his life, there is no historical evidence suggests that he is involved in any serial murders. In fact, Roosevelt was known for being a strong advocate for social reform, conservation, and military action in defense of American interests. Mm-hmm. His actions as president led to significant advancements in the United States, such as the establishment of the Panama Canal and creation of the national parks. Yeah. So I guess he's in the clear.
I mean... he may have friends in high places that are covered for him. So it's like, yeah, it's on historical record, but you don't know.
Yeah, I'll ask, are you sure?
Are you sure? What if someone covered it up?
Yeah, sure. It's a big cover-up.
It's a big cover-up.
Would the audience like to know what my what local AI I'm spinning up these days? Do you think they'd care?
I think so.
Eric Hartford's Dolphin 2.2 Mistral 7B.
That's crazy. You didn't even let me answer yes, and you were already saying it.
I assumed that you'd be too polite to say no.
Oh, that's so great. Do you think? Okay, cool. That's great.
And look, it's for all the AI safety people out there. It told me that it didn't let me ride my conspiracy, so everything's fine.
Oh, good.
It didn't indulge me in my conspiracy theories. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh,
I interrupted.
no, you're good. This is we're getting to the point where it's our movie pitch time. So.
Right. Okay. So, who's the actor? Timothy Chalamet.
Well, I feel like you might need. So okay, let me get there. So, he was the second child of 4, and he was born to a socialite named Martha. And his father, Theodore Roosevelt Sr., he was a prominent member in New York. So he started the Metropolitan Museum of Art, the American Museum of Natural History, which is probably why his son was making his own museum, because his dad had one, so I kind of get it. His dad also helped found the New York Children's Orthopedic Hospital, the New York City Children's Aid Society. So he was really pretty all-around good guy. And his mother, Martha, was an American socialite, and she's known as a true Southern belle raised in Georgia. And there's been like speculation that Scarlett O'Hara from Gone with the Wind was based off of his mother, because she was very similar. Now, I know that.
Right.
So, I don't remember what Lincoln's mother's name was, but I know his wife's name was Martha. And Roosevelt had a mother named Martha. And I don't know if you ever watched the Batman versus Superman movie, but when they were fighting each other, the only thing that made them stop fighting each other is they realized that both of their mothers' names were Martha.
Oh, I thought they were both dead. I thought.
Oh, no. Well,
is this one with Ben Affleck?
yes. So I think we could make a movie.
I haven't seen that one.
Well, that's fine. Just based off of
Ben
that
Affleck
interaction, I think you could make a Batman versus Superman movie, but like do it Lincoln versus Roosevelt, and they're like battling each other in this like superhero situation, but they're both presidents, and then they stop fighting because they find out that they both have a Martha in their life. But I don't know who would play.
What would they be fighting about?
But I like the idea, because it's like if you're trying to do like Lincoln Vampire Hunter, I think they should be superheroes, and they're like, it's a similar, it's almost like the exact same movie, but you're just replacing Superman and Batman with Theodore Roosevelt and Abraham Lincoln. And they get, like, maybe at the beginning of the movie, they get exposed to some sort of, like, radioactive goo, and they both blame each other for, like, falling into the goo. Maybe they were, like, arguing about legislation. And then they keep blaming each other, and then someone says Martha, and they go, huh? And then they're just like, oh, you've had sadness in your life, too.
Mom's name.
Sorry?
They both say, did someone say my mom's name?
Well,
the same
because...
time, they're like, oh!
But I don't know if Lincoln's mother was named Martha. Lincoln's wife's named Martha. That's the only kicker. Oh. But it's still someone in their life.
Could be Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yes, Joseph Gordon-Levitt
could
should
be Joseph
play...
Gordon-Levitt, because he'd be alive, too.
Yeah.
It would be historically accurate.
Abraham Lincoln, Superman. Theodore Roosevelt,
so I'm
Batman.
I'm thinking Ben Affleck as Theodore Roosevelt.
We don't have to even use those actors. I'm just saying that's the role they would play. I feel like if you were to put them in those archetypes.
Right. But I'm saying we should, and then Henry Cavill
as Abraham Lincoln. Actually, I think that'd be really fun to see Henry Cavill in a tall top hat. Yeah. And then he can do that classic...
and I'd like to see Ben Affleck with a big mustache.
Ben Affleck with a big mustache, yeah, with, like, a monocle. And then Henry
Is he wearing a monocle?
Well, no, I always think it's a monocle, but it's not. It's just one is more highlighted.
It's just a frame,
He's got, like, those, like...
It's like those glasses that rest on your nose.
Yeah, there's no arms to them, but then it's, like, a very thin frame around the sides. And then I would like... If we do make this movie and I have any sort of creative say... I would like Henry Cavill to reprise his arm recharging motion that he did in that one movie. I think it's called Uncle, where he was like punching. He just like shook his two arms out like two shotguns. I'd like that to happen in the movie.
Oh yeah, didn't he do that in Mission Impossible?
It was either Mission Impossible or
Like,
something called Uncle.
Maybe.
I can't remember.
I think it's like a why I oughta kind of.
Yeah. And they asked him about it in an interview, and he was like, "We'd been doing it like that was like my 12th take," and he's like, "I could feel my shoulders getting stiff." He's like, "And I didn't realize we'd started rolling yet, and I was just shaking out my arms to like get them like awake again." He's like, not realizing that it looked really cool, that it looked like I was like reloading my muscles as if they were guns, but anyways. So Teddy Roosevelt's...
Did they add a sound effect?
No sound effect happened. I mean, there was probably a meme where it was like...
Oh.
There's probably like a music thing that happened in the background. Anyways.
Yeah, remix.
So sadly, Teddy Roosevelt's dad dies, but leaves behind about $65,000. And I'm assuming all of the kids got money, not just him.
Back then was a
Back then's like, that's equivalent to about $1,971,000 as of 2022.
Damn.
So he was basically set for life. He didn't have to do anything, but he did. So then he married Alice Hathaway Lee, who was a socialite. She was described as strikingly beautiful, as well as charming. They had a daughter named Alice Lee Roosevelt. She was born in 1884. Alice, in the future of this timeline that we're talking about, she ends up marrying Representative Nicholas Longworth III, who was a Republican Party leader, and the 38th Speaker of the U.S. of the House. They had a bit of a shaky relationship, and her only child, Paulina, was actually from an affair that she had with Senator William Borah. So, drama in the Roosevelt household. But 2 days after Alice's birth, unfortunately, her mother passed away. And in Teddy Roosevelt's diary, he wrote a large X on the page, and then the light has gone out of my life. So then he left, and like
you just crossed out the day.
Yeah, I think like whatever day it was, he just put a big X and said the light's gone out of my life, and then like that was his daily entry into his diary, which is so sad. So she would have died in 1884, and then he probably left to go into the woods and into his ranch that he had for probably like a year and a half, if not 2, because he ended up marrying 2 years later a woman named Edith Caro. They were childhood friends.
That's not a lot of time.
Not a lot of time, and Roosevelt apparently felt deeply troubled that his second marriage had taken place very quickly after the death of his first wife. And then there was also some resistance with
Not all the light had left his life.
Yeah. But I feel like that's like, it's such an easy thing to say. It's like, oh, this amazing president. Yeah, he really felt bad. I will say though, this does, from what I've read so far, like learned, it sounds as though, like, a classic... Because this is going to be our second movie, which is the love triangle that happened with Theodore. So he basically had this, like...
Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck, and we'll bring in, like, J-Lo for...
Electra.
Yeah, Electra was Jennifer Garner, and then J-Lo, who he has been dating as well. So J-Lo will be the one that dies in birth. Or... I mean, it doesn't matter. Jennifer Garner...
Whoever's cheap.
who's ever available. Anyways, Edith and Theodore were actually childhood friends. They were neighbors. They grew up together, and they are actually... It is stated that, like, if they hadn't have had a falling out in their, like, early years, they probably would have gotten married, but something happened between them, and no one really knows what. They speculated that, I think I wrote down... some people think it was something to do with their families, or a rejected proposal. Her father apparently had alcoholism, so like maybe Theodore like had disapproval about it. And then there was like a rumor that the Roosevelts had some sort of like lymph node disease, or just like they don't know. They're like they could have gotten into a fight and said no, screw you. And then when
they got in a fight about their lymph nodes.
Well, there was a rumor. I guess I don't know. Apparently, there's this nasty rumor that all the Roosevelts had this weird thyroid issue. And it's like, bro, like that's like rude. That's so rude.
Is Eleanor Roosevelt?
Eleanor Roosevelt Oh, go ahead.
Is he?
They're related.
Okay, wait. So is Franklin FDR?
Yeah,
they are.
They are. But so Franklin, and you're skipping ahead. You're skipping ahead. That's not.
Sorry,
I
just.
But yeah, so Eleanor Roosevelt. So Theodore Roosevelt has a niece who is Eleanor Roosevelt. Theodore Roosevelt and Franklin Roosevelt are actually fifth cousins, and so then Franklin marries Theodore's niece, and then yeah,
because there wasn't really that big of a. Was there an age difference? What's the?
I'll be on. I don't know. I didn't look at their ages. I'm not sure whose president that is. We'll maybe get to that when we get to Franklin.
There's a 30-year difference. So you might have been like a nephew. I don't know.
No. So Eleanor Roosevelt was the niece of Theodore. So Franklin was a cousin.
Franklin FDR?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Just not a very good
I literally just said that. I literally finished it. I guess Franklin's his nephew. No. Franklin is his fifth cousin. Eleanor is the niece. Oh.
I was reading while you were talking to me.
It's like I'm taking crazy pills. He's like, I guess it's his nephew. Huh? Anyways, alright. So Edith, Edith and him get married, and I will say she definitely, kicks things off and is probably, as much as it's a sad occasion that he only waits like 2 years before he gets remarried, bonus points is that, they were friends before, probably were in love in their like teenhood, and then grew up and went, oops, now we got a chance to rekindle this. Edith was the first lady to employ a full-time salaried social secretary, and she, which resulted in her creation of the official staff and her formal dinners and ceremonial processions that happened at the White House, which are now that's now carried on from her. That legacy is that's the thing, the first lady is they take care of any sort of if there's delegations coming to visit, there's usually a big event or some sort of procession, and takes care of basically takes care of the White House and helps the president. Oh
wow, there's so many cool things here. It says that Roosevelt was a descendant of the Schuyler family from Hamilton.
Oh,
so maybe I did have one question. Do you think that the first lady is a paid position, or just the first lady's secretary?
It probably partially is now, but it wouldn't have been then.
Think so? So you think Joe Biden's wife is getting paid?
I think so. I mean, it depends. I think if they have a choice, if they want to do more, I picture it as very much and I can only put it in entertainment business level. If the White House was a show or movie production, the first lady is the producer and the president's the director, and they work in tandem to make things happen. So it's almost like they're the money and they're the okay, I'm going to make sure this and this done, then you can do your creative process and run this country, basically. Is the best way I can put it in my own terms in my head.
Interesting. It says my AI says that it's not a paid position, but I don't know if that's true.
I think on paper, neither position is quote unquote paid, but
I think the president gets paid $400 grand. I think that's what it is. Because
Yeah.
remember when Donald Trump he's like, I'm taking a pay cut here, you know. And we're like,
Yeah.
we know, we don't care.
Yeah. I think too. It's like usually the first lady or president are married, so like legally that is partially their money. Yes, it is just getting paid to the president, but I would argue that there's probably like something else there. But who am I? Who am I? I'm just Dutch. I'm just here writing words on a page and throwing shit at the wall and seeing what happens. And you're just a deep throat.
But we're AI assistant, so I think that this is really good. This AI, because it just I haven't seen anything that's not false. Sorry, I'm just talking about AI again.
Classic. Okay, I'm gonna quickly go over.
Is there anything you? I just wanted to say I was looking it up and it says the Roosevelt Colliery. So he did an addition to the Monroe Doctrine, apparently. So he had his own little spin on it. For all the history nerds, feel free to look that up. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say it. Oh,
I can read it, but it's just gonna. It says,
it's just like boring.
This is what he declared. Do you want me to declare what he declared?
I mean, do you, bro?
All that this country desires is to see the neighboring countries stable, orderly, and prosperous. Any country whose people conduct themselves well can count upon our hearty friendship, etc., etc.
I mean, it does confirm, or I guess, capitalize on, like, how much he was, like, taking the legislation and what the American, what was the current law, and he was basically plussing upon it. And being like, no to the bad stuff, yes to the good stuff, and like, let's make it happen.
I have one question. I've heard a rumor about a teddy bear. Is there anything?
I have.
Are you saving that for last?
That's in my fun facts.
Is there an actual bear?
There was a bear, yes.
Or is that a rumor?
Well, the bear, the teddy bear, was real, and so was the bear. But we haven't gotten to my fun. We haven't even gone past early life yet. I haven't even touched the presidency stuff that I wrote down.
Oh my goodness, we're almost 40 minutes in.
I know, there's so much, and I cut it down. Cool.
Hit me with it.
So just quickly, just to round off the whole Edith stuff, because I really got into the first lady, because I was interested to know. I'm always interested to know about the women behind the presidents as well, because they're not always talked about as much until they've done something kind of like groundbreaking.
Started a war on drugs, perhaps.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So they had 5 children together, and then they also raised Alice from Theodore's first marriage. She expanded a lot of the social events that happened in the White House, and she invited a lot of the cabinet wives over, and very much started a kind of like working together, and then the social event to come to the White House. There was a lot of opportunities to schmooze and discuss certain things. Edith also believed to have exerted subtle influence over her husband. They met privately every morning for about an hour and probably talked about like his day and like what his plans are. Again, me saying like she's the producer, he's the director in a way. Like I think they came together and had their like, production meeting in the morning before he went to all of his meetings. And apparently there was documentation that the president's assistant would usually come to her and for a lot of things instead of the president, because he was usually so busy, and she could basically answer the question for them. And apparently she read several newspapers every day and forwarded any sort of clippings that she felt were important for her husband to read of just like world history or things happening in the States. And I think it's the first, maybe not the first, but like the most significant moments where the first lady's kind of like stepping up next to her husband and like getting shit done, which is pretty exciting. Alrighty. Presidency. Now again, I have to preface, there's like, I didn't get into his nitty gritty of like some of his choices he made, but I've gotten some things. Roosevelt, to this day, is still the youngest president that was ever a president. Like when he assumed office, he was 42.
Oh, really?
When he came in,
Baby.
just a wee bab. He was a leader of a progressive movement, and he followed a thing that he called the Square Deal, which called it
The what, sorry?
the Square Deal, which I think is just like equal. He wanted to make fairness for all citizens, breaking up bad trusts, regulating all of railroads, and making sure everybody had pure food and like healthcare and drugs as best as possible. So it's basically like his Square Deal was like, I get one, you get one. Like there's no like I own a bank, so I get 50% of everybody's income. No. Like we're gonna be equal in all of this. And the three major goals within the Square Deal were conservation of natural resources, control of corporations, and consumer protection. So very much like, let's make sure what we have here, our natural resources that we can pull upon are protected, and we're not like over, looking for gold or over mining or over tree felling or anything like that. Making sure corporations were going above and beyond all that fun stuff. So, like, really a smart man who was like, hey, yeah, let's be smart about this. He was really into national parks and forests. And he was very for preserving any sort of natural resource that they had. He expanded the Navy and actually sent I guess they called it the Great White Fleet, on a world tour. To kind of project what America's naval power was to, I guess, all other countries.
That's what they called it, the Great White Fleet?
Yes, the Great White Fleet, I guess, because like a great white shark. I don't know. I mean, I guess you could have called it, like, Eagle Fleet. That would be pretty on the nose for America. And with that Great White Fleet, he also successfully brokered an end to the Russo-Japanese War in 1906. Which gave him the Nobel Peace Prize. And he was the first American to ever win a Nobel Peace Prize. Which is pretty amazing. So I guess, Roosevelt was elected to full term in 1904, so he would have done 3 years replacing McKinley. During his presidency, he actually groomed William Howard Taft to succeed him. But he ended up growing frustrated with Taft's conservatism, and so tried to like push him out and to try and win 1912, but unfortunately didn't. He had groomed William too much, so that he didn't win the seat in their house. He did run for president in 1912, but unfortunately,
yeah, he's the next one. After Roosevelt.
Correct. Yeah. Well, no. Yes, but he tried to run in 1912 on the Democratic Party, but lost the nomination, and Woodrow Wilson won the leader of the Democratic Party. But then William Howard then became president. I think Woodrow's after.
William Taft is before Woodrow Wilson, but it says here that he's a Republican. So could he have?
He probably traded because he was very, very conservative. So there was definitely like a falling out.
Wasn't conservative back then Democratic?
Yes. I don't know the full story. They didn't give me as to what like parties each of them were in. All I know is that Theodore groomed Woodrow, I'm lost now.
Taft.
Where did I write it? Yeah, so Roosevelt groomed Taft, whether they're on the same party, and Taft then jumped ship. Whatever it was, they had a falling out, and so then Roosevelt went, screw it, I'll run for my party then instead of Taft, but then Woodrow Wilson beat him, and so then for the presidency of 1912, or whatever the next one was, Taft won, and then Woodrow came after. And then Roosevelt never ran again for president, even though he probably could have, because now we have presidents who are like 90 years old.
True.
Cool. During World War One, Theodore criticized Wilson for keeping the country out of the war.
Is this World War One?
During World War One, Teddy Roosevelt criticized criticized Wilson for staying. Like he's like, if I was president, I would have brought the United States into the war a lot sooner. Mm-hmm. But that was just him as like a
backseat president.
Backseat president. He was 42 when he became president, right? Like, so like when he stopped being president, it wasn't like he stopped working. I believe he would have gone, and plus he had $1 million, so it's like he didn't have to work, but he was probably still involved in politics somewhere, at least on the social media. So that was pretty interesting. And polls of historians say that he was probably the greatest president in American history.
Well, I'll be the judge of that. Thank you very much.
We've reached fun facts.
He's pretty good. Oh, nice. I think he's in the running for best.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
It's time to change the seat. It's been an old bunch of big white guys.
He's mine so far.
For a bunch. Yeah, I'll give him the. It's not too early to say. I'll give him the pass. He might be the best so far.
Yeah, I liked his. It felt like, I mean, just based off of the not legislation, literature. Like, there's so much on him that it's like where I feel like the couple of the presidents. It was like us sifting. It felt like, at least for me, I was sifting through a lot of articles to like find something that's like exciting. And this was like
there was an assassination attempt.
Yeah, because I think
was he shot? Oh wait, where's what shot? 7 feet away. Did you read this at all?
No, go for it.
The guy who shot Teddy Roosevelt believed that it was the ghost of the guy who killed William McKinley, directing him to kill Roosevelt.
Whoa!
It's like, it wasn't me. It was the ghost of the guy who killed the last guy.
That's wild. But because Teddy didn't die,
apparently the bullet lodged. Yeah, the bullet lodged in his chest after penetrating his steel eyeglass case and passing through a 50-page thick single-folded copy of his speech titled "Progressive Cause Greater Than Any Individual."
That's crazy. I love that it went through his glasses.
Yeah, and they have a picture here of the speech with a hole in it. Cool.
That's cool. That's really cool.
This guy's baller. And here's his man. Yeah, this guy easily could have died if he didn't have this glasses, Casey. Cool. Yeah. Sarah, go ahead.
Oh, we're on fun facts now. Fun facts now. It's all good times. Mm-hmm. He was a cowboy rancher. He visited the Dakota Territory in 1883 to hunt bison. Exhilarated by the Western lifestyle, he ended up.
I saw a picture of him hunting an elephant.
Yep, he was a big hunter, and he invested $14,000 in hopes of becoming a cattle rancher, and so he got himself like some land. So I think he went around and did a lot of like hunting and pioneering, I guess would be a better thing, where like they just like lived up the land and just like did shit. Yeah, he would constantly shuttle between New York and Dakota. So anytime he didn't need to work, he'd be basically out at the ranch doing stuff. And he learned how to, I guess, rope and hunt and on the banks of Little Missouri. And he also successfully led efforts to organize ranchers to address the concerns of overgrazing and other sort of like, because it's early on after like, I think the Oregon Trail's done and dusted, because then the trains were finally set up within America. But you had all of these ranchers and farmers who were like battling against each other, and so it's like bringing them all together, and they started an association. It's called the Little Missouri Stocksmen's Association. So like anytime there's like, my cattle has a disease. What do I do? Like, you share your experiences and share resources to be able to, like, all succeed as ranchers and farmers. He felt compelled to promote conservation, and they started a club called the Boone and Crockett Club, which was just basically a conservation for large game animals and their habitats. So making sure that we don't overhunt, overdo anything. And that club, it still exists today. They have a .org website that you can go to, and it's named after the two, like, hunter heroes of the back in the day, which is Daniel Boone and Davy Crockett. And it's basically an organization that is, like, regulates hunting in the States, specifically in, like, Missouri and, like, the Dakota. I don't know my territories very well, but in that kind of, like, Rocky Mountain high area. So that was pretty interesting.
Says here he believed in the organization, the Boy Scouts of America.
Yep.
He could help mold and strengthen the character of American boys.
Wow. Which, out of context, I don't like that
maybe
sentence.
Maybe not so true anymore.
Yeah.
Were you a Boy Scout?
No, I was.
I think you said you were.
I was a Girl Guide or a Brownie, but they've renamed them.
Oh, were you? What do they call them now?
I don't remember. They had it's still Girl Guide and then Pathfinder. So you, like, go up. So Pathfinder is probably the closest to Boy Scout.
That's, like, older, right?
Yeah.
There's also Sparks too. That's the
that's like you're, like, in kindergarten, and then Brownies was, because Brownies, they realized, was probably a little bit of a derogatory term, so they changed the word.
Right, could be racist.
But that one was.
Were they named? They were named after the pastry, though.
Well, no, because a brownie is technically like an Old English sprite. It's like a fairy. So, like, you'd have, like, brownies or fairies or something like that. So It was all based, because that's why you had sprites, right? You went sprites to brownies. So this is the idea, like, all of our badges had...
Maybe I was getting confused with the Girl Guide cookies.
Yes, but the Girl Guide cookies aren't even brownies. They're, like, mint cookies.
Yeah. True. Very, very confusing. Too many
yeah,
pastries.
but you would have, you had, so in your, like, group, there'd be, like, I don't know, like, 60 kids, and then from there you would have, like, groups of, like, 5 or 8, and each of you would have, like, your quote-unquote Hogwarts house, and you would have a specific sprite or brownie that would be, like, your team name. And then all of our leaders are, like, organization leaders. They all had, like, owls names. So we had Snowy Owl, Barn Owl, Tawny Owl.
What's an owl name? Oh, I see. Cool. Tawny and Snowy.
Yeah, so just, like, basically, instead of their names, they had, like, an owl name as their, like, leader name.
When I was in Beavers, they had, like, a beaver name, like, term, or, like, terms that are adjacent to a beaver, like the word bubbles. I'm trying to remember the other ones.
Yeah, and then I only got as far as Girl Guides because my guide leader put us in timeout, and then I stopped going. Because I don't think, she shouldn't have been in that position. I don't think she liked kids. So I don't know why she did that job. Really? Yeah. But I think it was obviously, like, an extracurricular, like, give back to your community situation. But I remember my mom came to pick me up once.
I don't think it's a paid position.
It's not, no, it's like you go to, like, you know, it's like brothers and sisters, like,
maybe
Big Brothers.
She was doing voluntary.
Yeah, you're supposed to go to, like...
She was doing community service because she was in jail.
Well, no, I don't think if she was in jail, she'd be allowed to be around kids.
As long as she's not... Yeah, it depends what she went to jail.
That's true.
White-collar crime, perhaps?
I think she was just trying to give back to the community, but then didn't have the interpersonal moment to be like, I don't like kids, maybe I shouldn't do this. But I remember
Did she have kids?
Pardon?
Did she have kids?
I don't think so. I don't know.
Oh, really?
I didn't, again, because I was like, I don't know. I was 11 at the time. I don't think as an 11-year-old I would have the mental capacity to know to, like, hey, do you have kids? But all I remember...
You just gotta check her for C-sections.
What? I don't think you can't... That doesn't work that way. You just, like, lift up someone's shirt.
Check for C-sections.
Yeah,
you're a kid. You can do whatever you want.
I would have been arrested. I would have been smacked up the side of my head by
Then
my
you'd
mom.
have to be the leader.
No, but yeah, but all I remember was my mom coming to pick me up, and I was in timeout outside the like community center, like in like the front foyer, and she went, "Why are you out here?" And I was like, "Oh, I was speaking too loudly." To which then she was like, talk to the leader. She's like, "I'm paying for my daughter to be here, and you're not including her in anything because she was speaking too loud." And then I was no longer in guides.
Should come to the Cubs. They're very loud. Everyone's
Right?
loud there.
Yeah. Anyways, kids. I also have a confession to make in the process of reading all of this stuff. So you know the movie Night at the Museum with Robin Williams
Of course. Oh,
and
yeah.
Ben Stiller?
He
So
plays him.
I never put two and two together that he plays like the like wax statue or the
Who did you think he was?
I just thought he was some explorer in like American history. Like I didn't put two and two together that he was a president until I was reading this.
How'd
and I
you
went,
make the
"Oh."
connection?
As I saw a picture.
Oh, did they like, talk about it?
No. I saw a picture of Theodore in his like his outfit with the hat
His costume.
that Robin Williams is wearing in the movie, and I went, wait a minute, and I like Googled Night at a Museum IMDb, and I went Theodore Roosevelt. I'm like, oh, I'm an idiot.
He does a pretty good job. It's been a long time since I've seen
Yeah.
that movie though.
They've done three of them, and there's now a cartoon. So says IMDb when I Googled it.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know if I've seen any of the other ones. What's the third one about? Let's see how.
I never watched. I think I've only
Is
watched
Ben
the
Stiller
first
in
one.
it?
But yeah, everyone's the same. I think they stopped making it because
not
Robin
Williams.
Williams passed away. Yeah. He's
Is
at
he
least
in the
in the
third?
third. I think he is. I thought I saw him on the poster, but I could be wrong.
Oh, it could be. It was 2014.
Yeah. I think that's why they made it
Is
into a
this the
cartoon.
second one?
I've only seen the first one.
He's also got Rami Malek playing King Tut before he was famous. Pretty cool.
My last two fun facts that I have.
Yeah, he is in it. Wow.
Yeah, I think that
Anyway.
the third one was his last one. Yeah. Sorry, my last two fun facts, and then I have world history stuff, but we don't have to go over that one. Which we kind of actually already talked about, which is Theodore Roosevelt. Like, what's the deal with the whole Roosevelts being related? Theodore and Franklin Roosevelt are fifth cousins. Eleanor Roosevelt was Theodore's niece, and Uncle Theodore presented the bride to Franklin. Uncle Theodore presented the bride at Franklin Eleanor Roosevelt's wedding. So that's how they're all related.
Is it Franklin Eleanor or Delano?
Franklin
Are you
and
getting them
Eleanor.
confused? Eleanor. Okay.
I think
many Roosevelts.
I smushed. Also, they all have intense names. Like, it's not just like Sally, Bill, and Jill.
Yeah.
It's Theodore and Franklin.
His middle name's Delano.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I can't. Anyways, and plus Roosevelt
too
is
many
also a wild
Roosevelts.
last name.
I usually have to Roosevelt. I usually have to
Roosevelt?
look at it before I spell it. What? How did he die? Did you get that?
But I can tell you about the teddy bear.
I felt better. He died by a bear attack.
Yeah.
The bear came back.
Maybe. The bear's publicist went,
I got
no.
blood clot in the lungs.
Classic.
That's what it says. Blood clot in the lungs.
In the young.
Okay, now finish us off with the teddy bear.
Alright, so what's the deal with the teddy bear? Well, he was on a hunting trip as president in Mississippi, and the guides that were with him prepared a bear for him to shoot by just tying it to a tree. And they're like, here you go, you can shoot this bear now. To which Roosevelt refused to do so, just basically on, like, sporting grounds, where he's like, I'm a hunter, like, I'd rather, one, it's a bear, I don't want to hunt a bear, I would like, hunt a deer or, a stag or something like that. So he said, like, no. Apparently someone else shot the teddy bear, or sorry, shot the bear. which then news.
I'm just picturing a teddy bear.
Yeah. Well, then what happened was the newspapers got the story on that, and they made a cartoon where they basically called him a big teddy bear for not wanting to shoot the bear. And then a shopkeeper said, "Do you mind if I sell these stuffed bears and call them teddy bears?" So that's why we call them teddy bears.
Wait, that doesn't make sense though, because they called him a teddy bear.
As in, like, he's a soft, squishy...
They called the bear a teddy bear?
No, they called Theodore, because the short form for Theodore is Teddy. Mm-hmm. And, like, oh, he's, like, like, he's just a big softie. Right. Like, he didn't shoot the bear. And then they sold bears, and they called it a teddy bear.
Teddy bears. And that's how it all got started. Big Build-A-Bear.
Big Build-A-Bear. And now we have Build-A-Bear.
That's how Build-A-Bear... Yep.
And then I have a couple world history stuff, but if you've got some things you want to say, we can postpone.
Not really. He's the last guy on Mount Rushmore for us.
Yep. So it's
Why do you think he got on there?
Well, because he came and he fucking did it. Mm-hmm. He won wars. He knew legislation. He made sure people, like the banks weren't fat and the corporations didn't fuck over citizens. Yeah. He got shit done.
Secrets. He was a knight of the museum.
So who's all on the mountain? So it's Washington.
Battle of the Smithsonian.
Washington, Lincoln, Theodore. Who's the fourth?
Cool. So he's your favorite? Hello?
Are you Googling it?
Uh-oh. Are you there?
Are you dead? Uh-oh. I'm scared that your mic died and now I'm just alone.
Hello?
Oh no. But you're still on the call. It's so weird. Well, for all of you listeners out there, this is going to be the weird section where I'm having a one-sided conversation. And so is Deep Throat, because they joined with their phone to be able to hear me, and now I can't hear them anymore. Anyways, welcome to World History Time. 1901. Queen Victoria dies. 1902. Enrico Caruso's first gramophone recording. I don't know if I should go through this or not. We'll just wait. Well, I will say that the timestamp was 1 hour, 2 minutes, I think, roughly when you dropped. And officially dropped from the call. Sag. And we're back. We did it! Longest episode ever.
Still saving. We still have the stuff saved.
We still have the stuff saved. Yes.
Okay, so what were we talking about? We were just about to finish up.
I was just gonna go quickly over just my favorite thing to do, which is to describe the certain things that happened in history during the time of Theodore Roosevelt's presidency. So he served from 1901 to 1909. So 1901, and I started to go over them, and then it was awkward because I was just saying them out loud to myself, and it was weird. Queen Victoria dies in 1901, which is interesting because McKinley also died, so that was interesting. The first gramophone recording happened in 1902 by Enrico Caruso. 1903,
Oh, this is just stuff that happened, right?
This is just stuff that happens. Yeah, that's all you get. I just tell you what it is.
Yeah.
The Wright brothers fly their first plane.
Cool.
1903, the Boston Red Sox win their first World Series. 1904, the Russo-Japanese War begins. 1905, Albert Einstein's theory of relativity is published.
A banger.
But yeah, still listen to it today.
Still holds up. Yep.
1906, San Francisco has an earthquake and a 3-day fire. 1907, Oklahoma becomes the 46th state of the United States. Picasso introduces Cubism in 1907 as well. 1908, the Model T is produced by the Ford Motor Company. And then...
Cars are invented.
Yeah. And then 1909, the National Association for Advancement of Colored People is founded in New York by prominent black and white intellectuals and led by W.E.B. Du Bois. Yeah, so things are happening.
Things are starting to take off.
Things are happening in history, so it's interesting.
Cool.
We're in the
Industrial Revolution begins.
We're in the 20th century? Is that how it works?
Yeah.
Yeah, the 20th century, yeah. Because we're currently in the 21st century.
Mm-hmm.
Spooky.
That is correct. Well, okay, so before I cut off, I was going to ask you, is he your favorite president?
Yeah, I think he's my favorite president.
Yeah, I think I'll give him the W as well.
Yeah. Because, like, I feel like Lincoln... I mean, it's tough, right? I do feel like Theodore and Lincoln are... Yeah, they're in their own category a little bit. But I feel like I feel like Lincoln... Not that he doesn't deserve his...
times.
Yeah, not that he doesn't deserve his popularity, but... I feel like Theodore deserves it. So, yeah, he's my favorite president.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too, I think. Well... What a jam-packed episode.
Yeah, it was a lot, man.
Yeah.
But it was good. It's good.
I really wish I kind of read it myself, but
you still can.
It's true. And so can you, the audience.
And so can you.
It's never too late to learn.
Signing off.
Sign off. My name's Deep Throat.
And my name's Dutch, and this outro was not generated by AI. Whoa!
That's yeah. Whoa! It's organic. It's you can feel the humanness in it.
I'm no longer forced to speak a language that I can't actually speak.
You don't speak. Well, all right, everyone.
Goodbye.
Thanks for listening. Take care.